Is it tricky? You know, not really sometimes.
We're good. All right.
Yeah.
I'd like to call the meeting to order, please, and ask everybody to rise. One more coming in. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody, to the York County Commissioners meeting for February 6th. We would especially like to welcome our new commissioner this morning that was just appointed last week. Welcome aboard, Leroy.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Brooks.
Present?
Bear.
Here.
Ott.
Yeah.
Sykes.
Yes.
And Overmeyer.
Here, open meetings law is posted on the south side of our chambers. It is in the hallway outside of our chambers. It is also on our website. Proof of publication for today's meeting was in the paper in the News Times, February 1st, along with our website. Next up, we need to review and approve the minutes of our January 23rd Board of Commissioner meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Jack.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Sykes.
Yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
And Overmeyer.
Yes, and we also need to adopt today's agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Stan.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Bear.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
And Overmeyer.
Yes. Packed house today. Good to see everybody. Officials forum first. Morning, or
Good morning, everyone. Not much to report other than Mother Nature decided to turn a 180 and warm us up and melt the snow, which was a great appreciation. At least the roads are now open. The snow's down to where it's not going to create near the issue if we get more. And so that's kind of where we're at. Basically, we're working in the back lot, getting drainage under the gravel pile, so when we start stockpiling gravel back there, it can drain out and not make a big mud hole. The fence is done out there. They did get the rest of the privacy slats on. They have got the barbed wire on, so when we get the final bill for that, that is done and approved. Other than that, we're just trying to now start shaping the roads back up and fixing equipment that was broke down while we was doing that, so.
okay. Any questions this morning, Barb? You'll stick around for a while.
I will.
I figured so. Thanks, Harv.
You bet.
Any other officials this morning? Morning, Josh.
Good morning. Just wanted to go through and offer a sincere thank you to the Department of Roads. One of the things that happened during this last snowstorm, and I didn't get a chance to get here last meeting, but wanted to specifically thank Harvey and his crew for everything that they did. Specifically, one employee helped us out a ton. We had a vehicle that was stranded down on Road 4. There was no way we were going to get that to them in law enforcement vehicles. The employee was Mark Brown. He did an awesome job of opening up the road for us to be able to get down to that individual, to be able to get him out of his vehicle and get him to safety. So a specific thank you to you guys and everything that you do for your whole crew. That's just one instance. I know that we called Harvey multiple times throughout the time that we were involved in that storm, but just wanted to say thank you to you guys and your crew.
Josh, while you're here, as the chairman of the board, I know we spoke this weekend, but I do want to offer you condolences once again on your passing of your father this last weekend, and your county family is thinking of you as you go through this. So
Thank you so much.
you bet. Thanks, Josh. Any other official forums this morning? Kurt? Standing room only, huh?
That's right. Good morning. Good morning. Kurt Lolgren, York County Assessor. Two things. The petition to Turk that you folks filed a couple of weeks ago, that was received by Turk, and they have set a hearing on your request for March the 4th. I've been in conversation with the county attorney's office, so we'll be working on that. I assume it'll just be me and one of them going down there for that hearing, but anyone's welcome to attend if you'd like to.
Okay.
And that'll be it's at 1 o'clock that afternoon down at the State Office Building, on Centennial Mall. Second thing, I just kind of want to go over the permissive exemption process here that's coming up. We're looking at February 20th to have a Board of Equalization meeting where I will present my recommendations to you gentlemen on the applications that were filed. Those recommendations are due by March 1st to County Board of Equalizations. Also at that meeting, you guys will need to set a date and time for the hearing where you will consider the applications. I'm recommending a March 19th hearing date, which is a Tuesday. And then also in that regard too, it sounds like if you guys want to, you can do a mass approval of them instead of approving each and every one of them. The department, when I reached out to them and asked them that question, they didn't say we should, but I think they were kind of hinting that maybe if there's anything that might go to TURC, like if there's anything that you guys decide you're gonna deny or have questions on, maybe act on those individually so that there's a public record built on those. So if they do go to TURC, TURC has something to look at and consider. We'll need to give 10-day notice to the applicants and a notice in the paper of the hearing. I think we need to give written notice to the applicants as well. Waiting for confirmation on that one. Yeah, and then at the March 20 hearing, you can just act on them then, and then whatever decision you make, the clerk needs to give the applicant notice within 7 days after your decision, and then they have 30 days to appeal to TURC. So, in a nutshell, that's your permissive exemption process.
And those applications have all been received by your office?
Yes.
To date, as far as we know,
Yep.
everything's on time. And so we could get a list of those sent out to everybody so they had time to look at them prior to
Absolutely.
the next meeting?
Yep. What I'll do is I'll send those out before you meet on February 20, where I present those recommendations. I'll send them out in a group, one document of the approved, one not
Okay.
approved, and then anything that you guys have any questions on, please let me know, and we can pull those aside and act on those separately too, so we just don't act on them all together with all the other ones.
Okay. Any other questions, Kurt, this morning? Thanks, Kurt.
All right, thank you.
Any other officials this morning? No? Leela snuck in. Leela, do you have anything for official?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other, we will move on to public forum. At this time, public may step forward and speak to anything that they would like to. Does not have to be on the agenda. Give 3 minutes to do so if they would like. Good morning. Name, if you would, for the record.
Grant Jackson, McCool Junction. Just like to make sure you guys consider before you vote on your zoning regulations. Please consider the acreage owners that are involved in these potential solar farms. I think the proposed setbacks are fair. I'm a little nervous. Sorry, this is kind of near and dear to me. We moved back here 10 years ago. I guarantee if there was a 2,500 acre solar farm by where we live, we would not have moved back here. This is a rural county. We live in the country for a reason. So I think make sure those setbacks are fair. The view sheds, I think, should have to be mature trees. Seedlings, as you know, take years and years to develop. So if you're gonna hide those solar panels from acreage, that needs to be considered as well. The size of these solar farms, according to Google, the city of York is 4,200 acres. The proposed of the two farms that they're proposing is 5,200 acres. So take that into account. And with technology, they claim these solar farms in the future won't need to be that big because technology. So if they don't need to be that big, let's not take prime agriculture ground out of production. Another thing to consider is the effect it'll have on the local wildlife. if you're taking 2,500 acres here and 25 acres there, there's gonna be no local wildlife in those areas. Think about erosion that these will cause, where are these solar panels gonna go after the fact? Look at the storm in Scotts Bluff last year. All things to consider. I guess I'll stop there, but just take all that into consideration. And like I said, I think the proposed setbacks and regulations that the zoning committee is proposing are good. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Grant. Anybody else from the public that would like to talk this morning? Morning, Chris.
Morning. Chris Ziegler, I got a Waco address, 1716 Road 21. Just urge you guys to listen to your zoning board. You guys got them in place to come up with the regulations for the new statutes. I think it'd be a bad precedent to set if you change the regulations that they came forward with. So, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else this morning? Willard?
Hey. As per a conversation before. Willard Peterson, 514 Road 13, York, Nebraska. I'm from Bradshaw. I asked the Postal Service why I have to have a York address. I'm gonna rant a little bit. Because I have a York address, they changed, online internet stuff, you didn't have to pay sales tax on that, but now you do. And because I have a York address, guess what else I have to pay if I buy it on the internet? York City sales tax, and if I had my Bradshaw zip code, I would not have to do that. The only reason I know you guys can't do anything, that's off the subject. But you kind of get my point, I think. Because anyway, two things about roads. During the storm, those guys were out, and somebody made a comment here, a little admission, there was maybe one day during the blizzard, maybe you shouldn't have been there, and I totally agree with that. And the job that they did afterwards was as adequate, I think, as it could possibly be. The roads around my place, and I was on some other roads, to me, they were doing the best attempt they could do with the amount of snow they had. And but it was more after the fact that I felt it was better this year for some reason, that once they started trying to work on the roads, they got the snow moved out more, thinking in terms of they didn't want all them banks close to the road, water running right on the road. And at least in my area, they got it back, figured out how to do it, so when that snow melted, especially as fast as it did, it really didn't get on the road a lot, at least the ones around me that I drove on. And so appreciate that. And the other comment is from the end of the blacktop south of Bradshaw, which comes up to Road 13, and then that next about half mile to the east, I get east and west mixed up, to the east, it goes over to, I do. Some people say it's because I'm left-handed, but that has nothing to do with anything. It goes over to Bradshaw Road, and that road was regraded this last summer or spring or whenever, and I was a little concerned about that. Because when you grade a road, sometimes it takes a long time to get it in decent shape. But you guys should go out and drive that road. Of course, maybe you didn't see it when it was under construction and how much dirt they moved. But I have never in my life seen a road that's ended up now in as good a condition as it has. because there was a spot through there that always had ruts and everything else. Not one rut this year, and there were some trucks went through when they shouldn't have. So the base, the way they did it, the base they put, or the base building material, for some reason got worked in really good. And it's an amazing road. Now, all it needs now is some gravel and it'll stay that way. But I challenge you to go out and drive that piece because it is amazing. And that's coming from somebody that's used that road for 76 years. So anyway, kudos, and especially the thing of what they did, and I don't know about the rest of the county, but getting that snow somehow moved back so it didn't collect right on the road. Because it seemed like it used to do that an awful lot. So anyway, I appreciate, well, Harvey knows I appreciate him. Don't sound like it sometimes, but, okay, one more thing, and it has to do with your decisions coming up here on zoning and so forth. It seemed to me like that through most of this process, you know, you've basically just heard one side of a story. I just want to remind you, whether you heard another side or not, I want to remind you there is another side. And some people choose to show their side one way. Some, you know, you used to talk about the silent majority. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. And so anyway, but please consider everything. Thank you.
Thanks, Willard. Anybody else from the public that would like to speak this morning? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Grant Jackson's mother, in case you wondered, and I'm as nervous as he was, but it was easier to speak with fifth graders than it is with you, because I don't remember shaking when I spoke with them. So thank you for, excuse me, I'm going to pass this out first. Pass that around. Did I give my address?
I didn't hear it.
Joanne Jackson, 907 Road 2, Fairmont, Hayes Township, York, Nebraska.
Thank you.
York County. Thank you for taking public comments. I'm not speaking for a group, but for myself. I feel that York County Zoning Committee did an excellent job writing the York County regulations for solar zoning. I feel confident that you will support their proposal. OPPD wants to use the Center for Rural Affairs Best Solar Practices recommendations for setbacks in York County. The Center for Rural Affairs is an unaffiliated nonprofit corporation under IRS Code 501c3. The Center for Rural Affairs wrote a report, Nebraska Solar Siting Guide, a roadmap for counties. The publication is modeled after the Iowa Solar Siting Resource Guide, a roadmap for counties, which was developed in partnership with the Center for Rural Affairs and the Iowa Environmental Council. The Iowa Environmental Council is also a 501c3. It is funded by generous donations and foundation grants. On page 8 of the Center for Rural Affairs guide are several footnotes. Number 24 is an important one, I think. Planning for solar energy. It is written by the American Planning Association. According to High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development in 2019, the American Planning Association has been an accredited member of the Economic and Social Council of the UN since 1997. I'm going to use acronyms now. From the HLPF Summer of 2018 Forum it states that as a key contributor to the UN Economic and Social Council's high-level political forum on sustainable development, APA will promote our research and policy guides about tools, techniques, and best practices. Planning for solar energy briefing papers, which I mentioned was put out by the American Planning Association, also mentions ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, on page 2, states that they were competitively selected by the Department of Justice to conduct research or outreach to local governments across the United States, enabling them to replicate successful solar practices and quickly expand local adoption of solar energy. So who is ICLEI? And they're mentioned in this paper. According to ICLEI.org, it works to advance sustainability around the world. It has a unique role in the UN processes on behalf of cities, towns, and regions as local organization to local governments and municipal authorities group. As an advocate for local to global collaboration, ICLEI supports the local 2030 agenda with the Sustainable Development Goals. I want you to remember, every best practice has an origin. Where is the one that Center for Rural Affairs puts out? Where's the origin? To quote Jimmy Butler, for some they recognize that best practices does not mean the absolute best for all people and all situations. The aerial view that I gave or passed out is from someone in Wisconsin. The closest solar panels will be 150 feet from the dwelling, not the property line. So everything you see in green could possibly be solar panels around this property. And that's how it would look in York County for some if we had 50 to 200 feet distance for zoning. I trust you will take into consideration the residents of Hays Township and others in York County that might be affected by the solar setbacks as you make very important decisions in the coming months. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else this morning? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Kendra Johnson. I live at 1118 Road 3.
Thank you.
I'm also very nervous to speak to you. I would just ask that you consider putting an acre limit per project, and then a total acre limit for the county as a whole. Since we've seen 2 projects pop up, I would assume that there potentially could be more popping up. So I just ask that you consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else this morning? Seeing none, we will continue down the agenda. There is no reason for an executive session that I'm aware of today, nor is there any general assistance claims. Next up, we have an elected official claim in the amount of $150. That claim is for myself. The snowstorm created havoc not only in town or out of town, but in town. Our maintenance supervisor was not able to make it, and our sheriff's department still had to operate, and the courthouse was still open for operation. So I had a piece of equipment that I brought down to make sure that this place could be open and moved. And Daniel and the maintenance supervisor set a price on that time that was set aside. It's not for my time, but it was for the piece of equipment that was here. So I'd like to handle that claim separately at this point in time.
I would make a motion that we approve that claim.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Groot,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Ott,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
and Overmeyer.
Abstain. Okay, and then next up, before we do the payroll and vendor claims, we will need to transfer some money. Is that in here?
I didn't put you on.
Okay, so the reappraisal fund, if we pay that bill, we'll be in the red, so we need to transfer. And it is a budgeted transfer that we had at the beginning of the year from inheritance for $85,000. Thank you, Kelly. So that transfer will be from Fund 2700 to Fund 1100. And that, once again, is $85,000, and that was a budgeted transfer.
And, I mean, I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. We didn't do that transfer already, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
And it's a
I
resolution.
had something in my mind that we had done,
We had done some other ones already, but not that one.
We've done two.
but, okay.
And like she said, it needs to be by resolution.
Resolution.
Yes.
Motion to approve a resolution for said transfer.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Groot,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ott,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
and Overmeyer.
Yes. Now, on to the vendor and payroll claims. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those? Have any questions on anything?
There's some coding changes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we need to
I think we just put that in the
motion?
motion.
This is the one that's in there though, right?
Right.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
So we wanna move, rather than, paying for the snow removal contracts out of miscellaneous, we're
Right.
gonna, use inheritance.
Right, that
For
would be
that,
a
is that
recommendation
the-
to do that, yes.
Okay.
Yes, currently we have $12,580 to Greco Construction, $1,700 to Larry Jacobson, $26,700 to Tegan House Moving. And those are all for the extra help that was given us by independent contractors for snow removal. To my knowledge, we have two more outstanding that has not made it all the way in yet. I would assume we'll see those at the next one. But yes, be my recommendation not to take those out of miscellaneous, as that will swamp that fund, and we will need it to come from inheritance.
Make a motion that we approve, payroll and vendor claims, moving those three mentioned claims from miscellaneous to inheritance.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on any other claim? Hearing none, roll call please.
Groot,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ott,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
and Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, we are really close to the 9 o'clock, so I don't know that we'll get through any of the committee but Leela, you're here. I think we can get that one done quick. Discuss an act on designating Leela Luth and Mindy Gherkin as the York County voting members of the Southeast 911 Region Board.
Yes, we met as a region just a few weeks ago, and just on a yearly basis, we need to renew those voting members. So anytime we make any changes to the 911 region, as far as equipment, purchasing, that type of thing, we need to have those voting members in place.
And this year, it's just the addition. Was Mindy on last year?
She was not, it was Mariah, and Mariah's no longer with the
Right.
county, so we just need to make that update.
Okay. Any questions of Leila this morning? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve the appointments of Leila and Mindy.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Fair,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Hot,
Yes.
and Overmeyer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, it is 9 o'clock, and we will have a public hearing on York County's 1 and 6-year road and bridge program. And that was in the paper in the News Times, January 12th, 19th, and 26th. If you have anything to say before we allow the public to talk, if they would like.
Basically, what we have out here on the one-year plan, there is 6 projects out there. 2 of them are rebuilding a section, a mile of road. One is between K8 and 9. The other one is Road 8 between B and C. And then the last 4 are to the bridges that we let on the contract. And the grading 107 is basically fixing the road between the 2 bridges and getting that whole mile up to good condition and so on. And the county road forces are building the abutments back to these bridges as they are putting. The contract was for removal and building the bridge, not building the approach to them. So those 6 projects are all county road department involved, so.
Okay, at this time, I will open it, obviously, it is a public hearing. Anybody from the public that would like to speak to the York County 1 and 6-year road and bridge program may come forward and do so if they would like, and we will leave that open as long as people want to speak.
Don't look so surprised. Willard Peterson, 514 Road 13. My address is York. I'm a proud resident of Bradshaw. Ask the Postal Service why I don't have a Bradshaw address. I do not have a specific comment on any of the particular projects. I have a couple of comments in general. I commend you for, well, I don't commend you because you have to do this, I think. You have to make a 1 and 6 year. But the idea of it is, I think, is to keep the county roads, keep those in front of your mind as that, you know, roads need fixing, no matter whether it's the highest priced concrete road or, you know, low maintenance roads or whatever. They all need some work sometimes. So it's really good to have a project like this. And so go for it. I do want to say, let's see, did I say that in my other speech? Oh yeah, I told you when they regraded and how the surfaces, okay, I said that, right? Okay. Yes, you did. You're supposed to remind me. Anyway, the other thing I would remind you is I made a suggestion, and this will be the second time you've heard it, and it won't be the last. And that was, I thought that maybe you should go out even farther than 6 years and make a kind of a general thing looking at some of the most used county roads and possibly working on that, putting money away or thinking about how it could be done to make those roads, because most of the roads I'm talking about are gravel roads, possibly, changing those to some things like the blacktop between Henderson and Sutton, and then the blacktop out of McCool over to Lushton. Those roads like that, I don't know the history of why that was done, but there are other roads in the county that are really, well-traveled thoroughfares. And to start looking at that, and to me, we'd be looking at a really long-range project, but you have to start somewhere. And so I would ask you to keep that in the back of your head. The other thing that's a rock and a hard place for everybody with budgets is the fact, and you've mentioned that before with a lot of other projects, you put something off for 3 years, and guess what? You know, it costs way more than it would have if you could have done it in that first year. I also realize that's not always possible, but thinking in terms of, quote, how fast or whatever. So I would just ask you to think about that too, because in 100, if York County or anywhere is around 100 years, you know, the roads will just be different, but you could start that process.
Thank you, Willard. Anybody else from the public would like to talk towards this 1 and 6 year? Seeing nobody get up, we will close the public hearing at this point in time. Looks like it's 9:06, and we will discuss an act on the 1 and 6 year road and bridge program. Harvey. So, in years past, you know, at times we see more listed under the 1 year. And as me and you talked a little bit, this feels like what you can handle, but we can come back and amend this 1 and 6 at any point in time throughout the year, correct?
Yes.
So if there are other pieces that we have to do or decide to bump up a little bit more, we can do them. I would like to draw everybody's attention to the 6 year plan. And I believe you have them listed in order, like 1, 2, 3 is kind of what we talked about.
Yes.
We still obviously have some ARPA money that needs to be dedicated by the end of this year. Those are some arterial roads that are around York area, that are blacktop roads. They are in okay shape, but they would be, you know, at the top of what Harvey and I guess me and Harvey talked about this a couple different times, what we would feel would be the most important ones to get done. Obviously, we've been actively attacking our bridges over the last few years, and with doing those in the kind of the northeast part of our county this year, those 3. We've been trying to stay on top of that, so the asphalt roads are another part of that also. And these would, the first one would be that little piece there on the Country Club Avenue goes out to the bypass, and then in front of the roads department shop, and then Delaware Avenue as it crosses 25th and runs out to Highway 34 would be the top 3. And, you know, obviously if we were going to do any type of asphalt project, we would want to lump a fair amount of them together to try to get the best pricing that we could for doing something like that. That will be a conversation we will have in the near future. Like I say, we'll have to have some of that money dedicated, and we right now we'll have a couple bills to pay yet, but we have roughly 1.7 million left in that ARPA fund. So we have some other ones, and if anybody else has any other ideas of roads or different things, but those are some of them that I did talk to Harvey about. Anybody have any other questions of Harvey on what's put in front of us today? Or of the map that's there in front of us also? I believe it's detailed pretty well. Harvey, when we're looking at that map and we see the legend up there and the collector that's highlighted in yellow, what makes a collector road?
It is they have been classified by the state, by the county in the past of where our most traveled roads are.
So they've had travel studies or road
Yes.
studies or something done on
And that is the roads that are the highest traveled, the highest ones, and that's why they are up there as the collector, the other arterials and so on and so forth. You made me think just a little bit.
Well, I know through the snow removing discussions that I know we've all had, is why this road, why that road, you know, bus route roads. I mean, there is a method to the madness.
Yes.
And, you know, so I know that the guys have their districts and they have the most traveled, and, you know, we can go through and say 18 seems to be a popular road. 9 and 10, either side of the interstate, seem to be a popular road. A lot of them coming into York seem to be more traveled than some of the other ones, so they do tend to get a little bit more attention. Any questions? You're getting off pretty easy.
That's good. I deserve it once in a while.
Does this need to be by resolution?
Yes, right here.
Okay, got it there. If nobody has any questions, then I'd entertain a resolution to adopt the 1 and 6.
Motion to adopt the resolution to approve the 1 and 6 year plan, road plan for York County.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ott,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
and Homer.
Yes.
Thank you, I'll finish it up.
We'll get this signed. Okay, there's really 2 things left that I see on the agenda, so we'll jump right to discuss zoning. I had that put on here so we could give everybody an idea of, now that the zoning board has sent their recommendations to us. And I'd like to thank, I did it that night at the meeting, but once again, Aaron, Carl, Chad, Roger, and Luke, for their time and service to York County on these zoning rules and regs that they brought up. They're brought up for the whole county, and as we're seeing, there's another section of the county that is coming in the spotlight for possibly more zoning or more renewable energy, whatever you want to call that's coming forward. So I thought that now that we have those, and we have them there on our website now, and you can review what's been put forward for recommendations. And, you know, sometime in March, then we will take the month of February to look at it. We can talk again at our next meeting. And if there is a total wanting to change everything, then I'd say at that point in time, Carl ain't gonna wanna hear this, but we would throw it back to them. I can't imagine that part happening, but that is a reality. If this board says, now we don't like anything, we would really need to throw it back to them. If there's some tweaks here and there, I believe that this board can do that, and look at it that way. So that is where I think we're at on this. I think it's up to us, if we haven't followed along with it, to get a copy of those or look at it digitally and make some notes, and we'll discuss it further. Thoughts?
I would agree. I think that, like you said, I think we've all been following along, but now that it is in our hands, to digest what has been sent to us as a recommendation, and then to sit back and talk about what this board sees as good, bad, or indifferent. And yeah, I would agree that unless there's large changes, I don't know that we need to send it back down. I mean, that definitely is an option, if we come to the point where it looks like we have major changes. just in my first readings, there's a few, minor wording changes that I'd kind of like to see, some words tweak, some terminology. And then there's other comments and whatnot that I've marked down that we can discuss.
Yeah, reading it, it's impressive to me how much time it must have taken to write all that technical information into that zoning committee, report. Having said that, I think it looks good to me of what I've read so far. I've read all of it, but half of it more intensely. But there's always going to be something that we don't think about, and I don't know what that is. So, at first glance, I feel like it's doing pretty well. And there might be a few things we want to change, but not. I can't see anything major that need to be changed at this point. That's where I stand on it.
Okay. And we won't set a meeting date till our next meeting, you know, and then we should be able to reach out into March and see when we want to meet. I would assume that we'll do either the same venue or the venue up at the fairgrounds. I know some of the comments that was waged at me was we can't hear. We will do everything in our possibility to rectify the hearing issue. So we make sure everybody can hear everything. There will be time for public comment again and before anything is passed.
One thing, and I don't know, one thing that I think would be beneficial, we'll want to talk about if there are tweaks and changes prior to having the public meeting.
Right.
And so that if this board agrees on some changes, that we could get that, those changes to the public before the public hearing.
Yeah, we'll go through, like I say, it'll be on the next meeting. Any comments?
The only thing I can say is, I've probably read more about just this in the past week than I have read, and I told the gentleman this morning, than I have read totally in the past year. Just so everybody knows, it's difficult, but the farmers I've talked to, someone said, just make a decision. Do something. We can't stand in limbo forever.
Okay. We'll review what's in front of us. We'll have it on the agenda again. And then if you have some ideas, the tweaking or whatever we're talking about, I think the next meeting would be a perfect time to bring those up. And then I'm sure it'll be on the agenda the next 2-3 meetings, more than likely. Anything else regarding this? Hearing none, we will move on to discuss and act on committee assignments. Everybody should have had those. Assignments that we have is they are chairman appointed, but I always think you should want to serve on these. Leroy, you looked at what Woody served, and
the one I'd like to do that's not listed there is, Kurt's still on legislative committee with Stan. I'd like to do that one.
everybody else comfortable with what they're doing? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, this was just something that kind of was popping around in my head yesterday, and so I haven't had time to talk to the rest of the tech committee. There might be a possibility we might want to bring a couple others, expand that committee in a little bit. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but
Okay.
just
We can revisit this if you guys have a meeting and decide to want to add any names.
Randy, I think, on the 2023 committee assignments there, several of the committees that I was on with Woody's no longer with us, so I would like to have another commissioner put on some of these committees that were having 2 commissioners on before, and now it's just 1. County relief, we had 2. Economic development, we didn't have any. Landfill, Region 5, Woody, Ziegler, and Stan. Send, Four Corners, you've taken my spot on Four Corners, and I've taken yours on the Visitors Bureau. Veterans Liaison, myself and Woody. I think I'm the only one, I might be wrong, I'm the only one that's been in the military. And I have a different perspective of that position than most other people do, because I know what exactly he has to do. So I'd like to get another commissioner on that one.
Well, what's proposed would be that Leroy would take Woody's spot where Woody was at on those.
Yes,
On all of them?
Yes,
all of them.
all the ones that Woody was on, then Leroy would just assume that role.
Well, that answers that question, doesn't it?
There was some discussion regarding the handbook committee. Just as we are gonna probably look at making changes to that. Is that one, do we feel comfortable leaving that one as it stands?
I think for right now, yeah, because when you look at it, Cheryl, Lori, David, myself, and then all department heads, it's gets to be a pretty good sized committee at that point in time. So I think.
Where did we talk about the handbook?
Yeah.
Because that adds
sorry.
all electric. Well,
Oh, yeah, I just added Zell HR on there. Zell. There. Yeah, if you get too many in it, it's.
Right, yeah,
ridiculous. On your visitors promotion, are you like second? You want-
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just flopped.
Okay.
Any other questions? Stan, you okay?
I'm fine,
Okay.
especially want to stay on roads. If there's any others, somebody else wants to take my place, I can give them up, but.
Yeah. The only other one we had, was Woody had assumed the role of liaison to the weed department. And I think I had that written on that one that I handed you, did I not, Leroy?
It's on there.
So that's the right.
Okay, if everybody's good, I'd entertain motion to accept.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Hot,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, like lastly is committee reports. Sam?
I met with Region 5 for a 3-hour session at David City, and at Seward, and they just showed us what they all did, and interesting things they do. And one of the things that probably stuck out the most was people that have problems, disabled, some mentally or physically. They said if they want a job, they can fit a job for them very easily. They're really good at doing that. But first of all, the person has to want to work. If they don't want to work and then try to fit in with a job, they're having problems. But they can get the right job for the right person. They know how to do that, and they supervise them pretty well, and they're pretty successful with that. So that's the thing that stood out from that meeting. And then I've been meeting with the roads and talking to Harv, and we've all sound like we did a good job, or they did a good job. So, other than that, that's it.
Daniel?
So, continuing to move forward on the changeover for the new phone system. Scheduled for some training for each of the departments next Monday. And then the courthouse will switch over on Tuesday evening. And then the roads will follow that. And then aging and the extension office will switch over at a later date. We don't have a date set for those. There's a few things at the extension office that we have to get in place before the new phone system will function in that office. So then along with that project, Unite and Allo are in the process of planning out and bringing their services into the courthouse. I'll be meeting myself, and then whatever of the tech committee can join me with Marty, who's project managing that project, along with he's the lead on the phones. So we'll get an update, kind of see where we're at and how that's going. Doing some new network build out discussions for the offices in the courthouse. And so those discussions will continue to be had and hopefully come to a decision on what's best to serve the courthouse as we keep going forward. And yeah, that's pretty much what's been consuming my time, along with other phone calls and whatnot.
Jack, got anything?
We had a safety and security meeting right after our last commissioners meeting, and we were very short-handed. Several of the people that said they were going to be there weren't there, and there was one person that got sick and couldn't make it. So we had a very brief discussion about some of the things in the courthouse and around the courthouse was the cameras. The sheriff's volunteered to look up prices and stuff, and they thought that if we changed cameras and changed all of them, updated them, because a lot of them are outdated, that it would run, well, just an estimated guess of probably over $50,000. So it's very expensive, and we talked about it for quite a while. We had a new member appointed to take Nick Marsden's place, which is Jordan Dixon. He is now in charge of the jail. Gary Peterson brought back this little pamphlet book from one of his meetings that describes some of the things about the safety and committee and a resource handbook, and several of the things that were in here, and believe me, it goes into depth about the laws and the rules of the safety committee. So we're gonna have to take a good hard look at some of these laws that require us to do things. And when I was first assigned to this committee, there was Paul Buller, which is no longer with us. And so I'm the only commissioner on that board again. And with everybody that's on the committees with me gets to die, I guess. Sorry, Leroy. Well, I guess I have my own opinion of some of the things in there, and we'll discuss it at one of the meetings. But the main thing we did discuss was the cameras that they thought needed to be updated. They will be researching that and come back to us with some recommendations. Since we don't have a budget in the Safety and Security Committee, everything that we bring up is only as a recommendation. Okay? The first time I was on this board, the first thing we did was brought some people out from Omaha to reconsider this building as being safety or secure, and it's neither. This building was designed in the 80s when this wasn't a problem. It has been a problem ever since then. We've been very lucky that we haven't had any major problems. But it's one major problem can cost us millions and millions of dollars in litigation. So you gotta keep that in mind when it's brought up. I'm not gonna say any more now.
Is that everything?
Oh, I'll say something. Look up EMP. If you don't know what it is, look it up. Wikipedia has a very nice description of what it is, because no country is gonna bomb us because they don't wanna destroy us, but EMP is what runs the chips that runs everything. Try to buy a tractor, a car, a phone, anything that has a transistor in it, and you'll find out that the weakest part of our infrastructure in this whole country is the electric system. And it don't have to be done by bombs or anything else. They could explode an EMP bomb over it and everything is gone. If you've ever been without the internet, you find out how you're really handcuffed. If you pay your bills, all of these electric cars that drive around, what are you gonna do if you go a week without being able to charge that car? Okay, I'm off my soapbox.
Leroy, I assume that you did mainly just get ready for this meeting this week, over the last
Yeah.
week, you know, so.
I was here.
Yeah, I heard. Okay. I'm sure that in the coming weeks, you'll have more to report. Hazard mitigation plan will be on the next meeting. That should have been emailed out. Gary emailed that out. That's there was like 4 tabs on there, 2 of them pertaining to us. So look those hazard mitigation plans over that is put out. If you have any comments, then we will discuss and act on that at the next meeting. I believe that needs to be into JEO by the 1st of March. Central District, we had a Zoom call last week. Our Central District, which we're a part of 23 counties with NACO, that spring meeting will be here in York at that point in time. We host it once every just over 11 years, so that's March 21st. We're working at the things we need to do to pull that meeting off, supplying the meal, and I mean, NACO pays for it, but we're taking care of all the organizations. So we would like to make a good showing at that meeting also, as many people as we can, elected officials all being there. This coming Thursday, I will go down and spend, I think, a lovely day at the state capitol. Whether you like inheritance tax or not, it's on the agenda to do away with it. It is a source of revenue for the county. I had an article in the paper last week detailing what we use it for. The solutions they came up with are not valid solutions to replace that revenue of what we spend. So I will be down there that day to testify about that. And then lastly, we had some claims today for snow removal from private contractors that we hired. There was a whole lot of other people that helped us move snow. I've talked to some of those people and thanked them, but want to publicly thank everybody that helped York County move snow. I know I was misunderstood, that first Saturday, which was a day we probably shouldn't have been out, but we were out anyway. And there was, the heart attack, I think we talked about at a prior meeting, but that was an independent contractor that led that ambulance over to Waco. So when this crisis came about, people do step up. And we get the phone calls unhappy, but there's a whole lot of people do a lot to help York County pull this off. And I just want to thank them for everything they did throughout that. that wonderful week, 2 weeks we had. Anybody have anything else? We're not gonna look at Jack again. Okay, we are adjourned.